All right, so my name is Adrian Skobelski. Today is January 9th, 2023, and my presentation is on the genetic and hormonal determination of the gender. All right, so let's begin our presentation. So, to begin, here's a little bit of background on how the embryo develops. And we have a nice little chart on the right side, which demonstrates how we go from a fertilized egg all the way to a full grown fetus after 20 weeks. And to begin to fertilize the egg, we know that there's a combination of the sperm and the egg, which will then form a zygote. And that zygote goes through many stages of replication and division, leading up to something called the blastocyst. And over time, we'll see these cells start to differentiate. We'll see the fetal go through periods of growth and development, leading to the growth of a fetus, which will be around 5.5 to 6.5 pounds, all after the course of 20 weeks. So, as I mentioned, there's a lot of genetics going on in this throughout this development. And as we begin the first stage of fertilization, we know that the egg and the sperm both contain 23 chromosomes. So we have 23 chromosomes coming from the egg, 23 chromosomes coming from the sperm. And as you can see on the chart on the right, we'll go through a variety of changes. So we'll start with the fertilization, and it'll become a zygote. Then it'll go through the pronuclear migration all the way up to the first mitosis, and it'll keep dividing until we see the blastocyte hatching on the right, finally leading to the blastocyte implantation. And what we're going to talk about first is how chromosomes lead into the gender. And just a brief fact is that at the moment of conception, the gender of the child is already established. But just want to point out that as these cells begin continually dividing, we know that the chromosomes will go through many of stages. And on the bottom, we could see the important chromosome recombination, the chromosome segregation, the chromatid segregation, and this becomes very important in genetic transfer. And we'll see how chromosomes play a role in the determination of the gender of the child. So, as we could see here on the right, we see the chromosomes for a female, which are XX sex chromosomes, and then on the right side we have the male, which is the X and Y chromosomes. And as we know, the mother is only able to pass on their X chromosomes because females are XX, so you cannot pass the Y. The male has the XY, so it's possible for the father to transfer over the Y chromosome to his next offspring. And so we see the importance of having these chromosomes, because these chromosomes eventually lead to the development of either masculine or feminine features of the fetus. And with the combination of hormonal changes, we'll see how these chromosomes play in the development of male and female reproductive organs, as well as their brain structures. So we see that from genetics, the XX and XY are determinant for which gender. So a little extra info on how chromosomes become very important. So here are some atypical chromosome conditions. We have the Turner syndrome, and the Turner syndrome is when a female only has one X chromosome instead of the double X. And so what happens is we'll see a female with symptoms such as short stature, low hairline, smaller fingernails, deformities. So we'll see a bunch of different symptoms like that. And on the right side, we have the Klinefelter syndrome, which is when a male has an XXY chromosome combination instead of the usual XY chromosome. So this time the male has the two X chromosomes in addition to the Y, and such a person will experience some female characteristics such as breast development, testicular atrophy, poor beard growth, and other consequences. So to begin on the importance of hormones in the determination of gender, we'll focus first on the female development of the fetus. And the main hormone that we know in females is known as estrogen. And as we can see on the right side, there's 4 types of estrogens. We have the estrone, the E1, estradiol, E2, estriol, E3, and the estetrol, which is E4. This type is and so this hormone plays a very important role in developing of female sex organs. And you could go one by one and notice the importance, such as the estrone is the most biologically active. We see estriol is the predominant form of estrogen during pregnancy, and the estetrol is very high during pregnancy. And the estradiol is usually prominent during the reproductive years. But all in all, estrogen plays a very important role in the female development. And a little brief note, HCG, which is what is normally used for pregnancy tests, the human gonadotrophic hormone. This hormone is released when the blastocyst forms. So as the blastocyst forms, you see a much larger production of the HCG hormone, which also becomes very important. And then finally, we see which male hormone is responsible for the development of the male, the masculinization features. And on your right side, I have a little research paper study that I found by Heinz. It was from the Journal of Neuroscience from 2019, where they focus on the serum testosterone levels. As we know, testosterone is an androgen hormone, and in the study they looked at the concentration of the serum testosterone during the fetal age and the postnatal age, and see how serum testosterone changes. And before we begin, let's talk about the fetal development and then how it relates to this androgen concentration. So the fetal testes become active after 7 weeks after gestation. So we see on the left side of the chart a little, almost no identifiable trace of testosterone. And then from weeks 8 through 16 is when we see the huge increase in serum testosterone. So in the early weeks of 8 to 16, we see a massive increase in testosterone, which might indicate the presence of testes and the production of testosterone, which will then lead to the identification of a male fetus. And then from weeks 18 to 24, we see a decline in serum testosterone levels as we approach birth. And then on the right side, we see postnatal and the ages. So we see low level serum testosterone levels from years 1 through 12. And then finally, once the males reach puberty levels, we see a ginormous increase in serum testosterone levels, almost double that we see in the fetal age. So we can see that in years 12 through 16, serum testosterone level reaches almost 6 nanograms per milliliter. So we see that testosterone becomes very important not only during the fetal stage, but also in the postnatal age. And the testosterone is the main hormone responsible for the masculinization, for the masculine features, and it is produced by the testes. And to sum up, we know that genetics play a very important role in determining gender. Gender is determined during the formation of the zygote. We know that the XX chromosomes lead to a female. The XY chromosomes lead to the male. In addition to the genetics part of gender determination, we know that hormonal control, such as estrogen for female and testosterone for the males, in combination, we can see that the gender identity of a fetus can be much easily determined based on these two factors. And that is my presentation. Thank you.